Welcome to Burn the Ship. This is the podcast where we connect entrepreneurs with professionals that can help you go all in on your business. We talk to people that have walked the walk, talked the talk, been through all the things that we experience as small business owners, and joined us to share some of those things. We hope that you are able to apply some of those skills, some of those experiences to your day-to-day opportunities as an entrepreneur. So thank you very much for being here. First of all, your time means a lot to me. Thank you for sharing a little bit of it with me. Thank you for sharing a little bit of it with the audience. It's very, very kind of you. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm happy to be on this podcast. My name is Kasia Hein-Peters, and I am a physician by training. I spent most of my career as a physician in the pharmaceutical and medical device industry. And a few years ago, just after the pandemic, I decided to stop working for big corporations and instead start helping smaller enterprises, entrepreneurs, people who I call sciencepreneurs, who innovate based on science and engineering knowledge, and establish my own innovation management practice.
Nice. I think what is interesting about what it is that you do is your industry is always a little bit of a moving target. I think there's more innovation and more desire for innovation in the field that you specialize in than most other fields for sure, but maybe anything. So tell me a little bit of a story. How did you get into, one, how did you enter the healthcare space in general? And then how did you decide that your consultancy was going to be the avenue in which you continued to play in the market?
So I come from a family where my mother was a physician. So I think that my interest in medicine was quite early on as a child. We always had, syringes and needles at home. My mom would give us injections if we were sick. So medicine was always around. And then, so I think it's probably not a surprise that I decided to pick this line of work. I remember a story from my childhood when I was undergoing a small surgery. And as a gift from a surgeon who actually knew my mother because they were working closely together, I got an IV dip, a real IV dip. So I filled it with water and I actually injected it into my teddy bear. I had a lot of fun with that, the teddy bear less so because it got all wet and then rigid. So I think it was the first case of malpractice. But I was somehow fascinated when I was in this, children's surgical hospital. I was fascinated with all these, very rudimentary at that time, medical devices, all the scalpels and IV dips and syringes and all that. So I think it somehow stayed with me, and then I graduated from a medical school, and I proceeded to do residency in psychiatry. So I am a trained psychiatrist. But then I decided to take a different route and join the pharmaceutical industry. I didn't know at that time if I would stay in the industry or continue as a clinical physician. But I stayed with the industry because I realized that my impact on people's health and patient outcomes is actually much higher if I work for the industry. For example, an introduction of a new drug or a new vaccine can save millions of lives. An individual physician working as a clinical physician cannot save millions of lives. It's impossible. We can help probably a few 100,000 patients during our lives, depending on the specialty. But we cannot help millions of people. And I think this impact factor made me staying with the industry, and I never regretted that. I had a very interesting job and introduced multiple new medications and new vaccines to the market with the peak sales of up to $3 billion.
Oh, wow.
Then when I decided to leave, why I decided to leave is another story, and it actually was happening during the pandemic. When I kind of knew it, but I realized again that the real breakthrough innovations actually happen in startup companies. Big companies are good in optimizing innovation, commercializing it, but small companies are much better at risk taking. And we all, remember probably how many new treatment options and diagnostic tests and vaccines were actually created by startup companies during the pandemic. And then some of them obviously partnered with big pharma, but the original innovation actually happened in a small company. And that realization made me really wanting to work closer with this sector and help them to be a little better in commercializing their products. So kind of give this experience that I had in optimizing the launch that I had from big companies to actually apply some of these lessons to smaller companies. And you know what I'm saying is very industry agnostic. The fact that I work for healthcare and life sciences is because of my background and experience. But whatever I say today is very industry agnostic, can be applied to practically any entrepreneur.
Sure. So tell me a little bit about the highlights, right? So as you exit the working with large companies and you put your focus on more of the innovators and risk takers, right? There had to have been some transition there where there were some pain points for you and some enlightening moments that you experienced that really helped you kind of guide the direction of your organization over the last, what I guess it's been 6 years.
It's been about 5 years now, yes.
5 years, okay. So
Yeah, it's
tell
been
me
about
tell
five
me a
years,
little
yeah.
bit about what that transition and that journey looked like from, kind of what were the lows and what were kind of the highs.
You know, the my lessons was so first and foremost, when I left the corporate world, I gave myself a few months of actually trying to figure out what is it that I would want to do, because even though I wanted to work with entrepreneurs and small companies, I cannot say that I knew this field very well. So I basically became a member of several organizations, some mentor in incubators and accelerators, started to talk with founders and try to understand what their needs are. And I think my lesson was that uh, even though I had this big vision of helping with the overall commercialization, I realized that their needs are much more down to earth and I, I would call it a little bit short term. It's like the founder who needs to launch a new product and is really new, sometimes new to business, sometimes maybe is the second or third, venture that they have. They don't think in terms of the next 3 years very frequently. They think in terms of what do I need to do to succeed tomorrow and to succeed in the next few weeks? What do I need to do in the next 3 months? Maybe during the next year. So the a bit of a short-term thinking, which I think is on one hand it's good because they are really focused on what needs to be done. On the other hand, sometimes they miss a little bit of a big picture. So I think I needed to balance my approach a little bit better from big picture, a little bit more down to earth and helping with here and now, and then maybe helping a little bigger companies once they reach the stage when they start actually thinking a little bit about longer term. So that was one. The second lesson was that the way how we uh, the way how I did, marketing and business development and big corporation was also different. I think the amount of time and effort that is needed from a person like me for the business development, basically getting trust of people who never worked with me, was a little bit more time consuming than I expected. So we usually say, oh, you need to build credibility, online personality, your personal brand and all that. But at the end of the day, people only work with those who they trust. And building this trust takes a little bit more time. It's not just having a personal brand on LinkedIn. I think that was probably a lesson that I've learned as well. And it changed my approach to how I what I offer prior to actually having any contract
Sure.
with another person or company.
Were you only able to reflect on those things by putting yourself in the scenario to create a new partnership, build a new relationship, onboard a new client? Was it like pressure testing kind of where you're going about the things that you think are going to make yourself successful and you realize it's more of an uphill battle than you thought and you have to kind of correct the course from there? Or were these things that you were able to kind of identify during that reflection period after leaving the corporate side?
So it was always a combination for me of learning by listening to webinars, reading books, and doing. Because I am I learned by these two ways. So I also try to surround myself with people who knew certain aspects of business development and basically selling a consultancy service that they knew it a little better than me. So, for example, when I choose the digital marketing agency that I worked with, well, not the first one. I think the first one was not didn't meet my expectations. But then I was a bit more careful who I work with, and I actually picked the agency that partners with me, and they not only they don't only do what I ask them to do. They don't tell me what to do, but we collaborate to create the best possible approach. So I try to build these partnerships with different type of agencies that I work, so that I benefit from their knowledge, not only from them doing things that I ask them to do. So that's another thing that I started doing. But basically, reading and watching webinars and doing and testing different tactics. I'm still testing, by the way.
Sure.
They definitely nailed down my approach, and it's much more effective than it was 4 years ago. But I'm still testing, and think
Sure.
I will continue to, because the approach changes, our mindset changes. We evolve, and our customers evolve as well. So we need to adjust to whatever the market is responding to at the moment.
Absolutely. I think that's what's so interesting about your field to me. And I talked about this a little bit before we started the podcast, but it's always a moving target. It seems like the healthcare, health and wellness, pharmaceutical industry, for the most part, kind of changes the rules as fast as you can learn them, endorses things, or maybe something gets bad press, and then overnight they're kind of evacuating what they were doing and rebranding and turning into something else. Maybe it was something out of their control. There's a lot of change and a lot of fickleness with a lot of both the products and the people in your space. And I think that is what is very interesting to me about it, is that you have to stay aware of this moving target. You always have to know where it's positioned in the market and how you're going to attack it, or utilize some of the things that are coming along the way that are new or innovative. But tell me, so you've got this transitional period from corporate to your own consultancy, and then you've got really kind of this trial and error mixed with a little bit of mentorship and learning from outside influences. Tell me some of the highlights. Like, are you still working with startup companies? What have kind of those evolutions now, both of yourself, your company, and with the people that you're working with? How have those things kind of evolved for you over the last 5 years?
Yes, I still work with startup companies, and I work with them in a few ways. So obviously, I'm still a mentor in incubators and accelerators, and the one that I support, because it's in Las Vegas, it's called Startup Nevada. And again, interestingly, it's industry agnostic. It simply supports founders in the state of Nevada. And Nevada is interestingly becoming a high-tech location, especially Las Vegas and Reno, of course. So I think that's the one thing that I still do. Secondly, I am helping startup companies as a fractional executive as well. So sometimes I come in. Usually, it's not a full-time position. Obviously, it depends on the level of funds that the startup company has. But I come in as a fractional executive and help company to prepare for launch and launch new products. And finally, I have short consulting project, and consulting project can be with smaller startup companies, or companies that are scaling up, or even bigger companies, because the approach that I take is to look at the organization, not only individual competencies and the kind of individual abilities of the management members to launch new products, but I look at the organization as such. I have some very interesting patented assessment tools to actually show if the company has capabilities to be successful, to successfully meet their strategic goals. So my engagement with companies at the organizational level usually start with doing this assessment. We call it an Inno survey. So assessing innovation capabilities of the company.
Nice. Are there specific goals that those people are working on? Like, is it kind of industry agnostic for you, but within that medical space? Like, are you working with people on the, they're innovating hardware, or they're trying to bring new medicines to the market, or maybe they're creating products to support the people in the medical space? Like, is it kind of all of those use cases, or is there one specific kind of one of those circles that you find fits best with your, with what you're interested in doing?
So you see, interestingly, when I started, I thought that I would work mostly with the pharmaceutical companies because that's the biggest part of my experience. But I ended up helping mostly medical device companies, companies creating different hardware, visual diagnostics or lab diagnostic companies. And then the second group of companies that use my help, and there seems to be good fit between me and them, is actually different IT companies that develop
Sure.
solutions, usually nowadays AI enabled solutions for healthcare and life sciences. These are companies that produce different types of software for labs, or produce software for systematic literature reviews. So different, try to make different workflows in both healthcare and the industry more efficient.
Sure.
And I think that's really a cutting edge of technology, because that's really what the change that AI is bringing now into both healthcare and life sciences, is to making really people's lives much more efficient.
Yeah, I think that is another thing that's very interesting about the vertical that you work in, is that there has to be a sizable upgrade for people to invest in new technology. And how much better some of these new, like fit tech especially, or medical device development, like there's such an amazing upgrade versus what it's probably replacing in most of these, offices abroad, wherever devices that they're kind of competing against, there are significant levels up in the medical device space versus what people are used to. And I think that is very unique because there's so many people entering the market in so many of these different places that I think it's very easy to be 5% better, be 10% better, and grab some of the market share in a lot of places. And I think that that's not necessarily true about the medical space. That for the most part, people entering the market and entering the market competitively have to be quite a leap. It has to be a quite a sizable leap forward technologically. But where do you go from here? What are your goals? Who are you looking to work with now? When do you come back to the U.S.? What's kind of the plans for you and for the people that are listening that may think, oh, I could use some of your skills. Maybe I am someone that she may take a look at working with my company. How do people find you?
So I am very easy to be found on LinkedIn, because there is only one person with the same first name and last name, Kasia Hein-Peters. That I checked that there's no other people who have the same first and last
I
name.
wish
So
that was
if you
true for me.
Google, if you put in Kasia Hein-Peters, or just Kasia Hein or Kasia Peters, my name will come up. So I think LinkedIn is the easiest way to connect with me. Of course, if you Google me, you will find some other places where I am, as well as, and also my website. My company's name is Abante Scientific. What actually in Latin Abante means forward. So basically moving forward based on science. So basically abantescientific.com is my website, and I think this is another way to find me. But what is ahead? I think that my services, especially the capabilities assessment, is very useful for companies who either try to scale up, and they should scale up in a very mindful and systematic way, really knowing what capabilities, organizational capabilities they need, and how to build these capabilities. So that's one case. The second case is a company that's struggling with maybe growth or profitability. Because usually the fact that the company doesn't meet the expectations is related to the capabilities. So basically, scaling up and struggling are two cases where the Inno survey is incredibly helpful to set up the baseline, and then from that baseline, really transform the company into a very successful, sustainably growing enterprise.
Right. I think that your skill set fits perfectly for those people, and that there are more people down that that are in the process of forming themselves into a company like that than ever before. I think that there is a huge window of innovation that we're experiencing right now. And we might as well speak industry agnostically. That's probably true for most industries. Whether it's software related or hardware related
Yeah.
or products related or people related, people are more skilled than ever. The products are better than ever. The technology is better than ever. And that's why I think it's more valuable than ever to have someone like yourself that can come in, take a look at the organization, and create some synergy between the people and processes that are really the nuts and bolts of your organization. I think that especially if you're in a hyper growth or high sales environment, or you've deemed there to be some sort of risk that you need to get your product to market in a timely fashion, that whether it's Kasia, whether it's someone else, you need some sort of mentor, someone that can help you collaborate on that innovation so that you don't miss out on an opportunity to go to market, because you know your stuff is going to work. It's just how fast can you get it there. Again, I think I've said it a few times, but I think what you do is very, very interesting. The scientific part of your business and the medical part of your business really interests me, because from a payments perspective, we work inside of a lot of these businesses. So I see the irregularity in which two companies that are neighbors that do the exact same thing operate so independently and so individually and so uniquely. So I think there's just endless opportunity for what it is that you do, an endless amount of people that you're going to be able to help. And I look forward to making some connections to you in my own network of people that I feel like are a good fit for you as well. We have quite a few connections to people, especially in the medical device space. Payments kind of always kind of gets thrown into that conversation.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
but yes, I think what you do is very interesting, and I think that your skill set is one that is hard to acquire, and we are very grateful to learn from. So, please, I would love for you to leave the audience with the last word, but for me, that is all. Please like and subscribe. Please share this with people that you think this conversation fits for and they can learn something from. I love it when you guys are in the comments telling me who we should interview next. So please let us know more people that we should interview. But again, thank you so much for your time. It's very generous for you. And like I said, please tell us something good. Tell us something to be excited about, or something that we can take with us and help it make it a little bit easier to navigate our entrepreneur opportunities for, the rest of the day, the week, the month.
Thank you. So I'd like to say that I have a lot of faith in human ingenuity. I think we can basically think ourselves out of any problem, any challenge, any issue. Now, what is very important though is that we don't only rely on our creativity doing that we actually rely on processes and governance and systems, because they help enormously to make this creativity much more impactful. And I think that's really where the game might be in the next years, because it will be very easy to develop the new AI solution. It's becoming easier and easier. The technology cycles are very fast and people can innovate very fast. But how to bring these novel solutions to the market successfully, the capabilities of your organization will be the most important part in it.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Actually, we a faith in human ingenuity. I like that. That is very, very wise words. Well, thank you again for the time that we've spent, or that you've spent with me. The donating some time to us is very, very kind of you to help push our little mission forward, and you've been a great help of that, and we appreciate having you as part of the family. And if you are listening, please listen to some of our other stuff, listen to this conversation, and apply what you can to your own business. Nobody said that business, especially small business, risky business, startup business, is easy, but I think that with a village and with a little bit of faith in human ingenuity, that we can go a long way.
We definitely do. Thank you so much.
Yep, no problem at all, and burn the ship.